It's been a while since it's been so long since I've done a live stream that a lot of the different features had changed on the thing. So it took me a while to get set up here. Let's see. All right, I'm just getting the stream going on my laptop here so I can see the live chat once it starts. I have a feeling there's going to be some glitches on this stream. It's been a while. Things are acting slow. All right. Let me know. Hold on. Let me know if you can see me. All right. We're almost ready. I think that's that. All right. So I'll get my lighting going. I just bought some new lighting. I'm not really super excited about it, but I'll show you a difference like that lighting makes here. So there, whoa, there's $100. There is $200. Good morning. Here is $40 and another $40. So looking at $280 worth of lights on my face on this mug. How's my mug looking? Uh-oh, lost my picture. So if anybody, okay, so I'm getting some, there we are. Hello from Southwest Idaho, Stan Grenfell. How you doing? Timothy Larrett, 5x5, awesome. All right, so I'm coming through. Good deal. I wish I could make that chat a little bigger. Oh well. You're just gonna have to deal with me squinting when I read the chats here. American Harley Rider 8, we had riots in Dayton in the 1960s National Guard with a tank. We stayed home for a week. I suggest food and ammunition. We love. Oh, there's somebody put a heart right there. I'm not sure what that is. We did not see the police for a week. We were on our own. Well, that's crazy. I don't know. Are there riots going on around here that I don't know about? I haven't heard of any riots. I'm not really following the news that closely, but I know there's a lot of crazy talk about civil war. I won't get into that. I'll definitely say that the prepper channels that kind of focus on a lot of that fear stuff. I don't care. I actually find a lot of it interesting. I do watch it from time to time. I will say that if there is an issue with it at all, I think it kind of puts people in the potential of almost like a never cry wolf situation where you're constantly kind of getting ready for something and then nothing happens, and then getting ready and then nothing happens, and eventually you just stop listening to it, and then you kind of let down your guard, and that's when you get hit with the real thing. So in that regard, I don't think it's a good thing. I would just say if you guys are watching that stuff, I mean, take it for a grain of salt. But in my experience, it seems as though every time we've gone through any type of catastrophe or country, like a earth-shattering event, it always happens when nobody's predicting it. So I can't really think of a time where where preppers were all talking about something happening and then it actually happened. Usually catches us off guard. But All right, I'm just kind of waiting for some more people to show up here. So, all right, Johnny Nixon. Hey, brother, I really enjoy your content. Fellow Idahoan, could you please share tips on storing water in 55-gallon water barrels? I appreciate it. Um, I only have one 55-gallon drum. I actually should get more. And I actually just price checked them recently, and wow, have they gone up. I remember when I first was looking at the 55-gallon poly drums. I think that's what you're talking about. Those blue water drums. I think they were like you could get the whole drum with the pump for about $100 or just under $100. Now they're $200. So I'm priced out of that market, but I have two 50, I think they're probably like 50-gallon drums. They're not quite the full size ones. I'm not quite sure um, how many gallons they hold, but I got them for free on a job that I was on years ago. And I've never had to use them. I did fill one up once when I thought we were going to have a power outage, because when we have power outages here, our well shuts down and we have no access to water. So other than our creek, but I will fill one of those up if I think that we're going to end up, potentially losing water for a significant period of time. So I do think that they, for sure, if you're like dependent on just one source of water, coming from your city, for sure, invest in 55-gallon drums. And and just try to source them the best way you can. I know that a lot of times you'll see them used. You just got to be careful about, if you're going to buy used ones, just make sure that you know what was in them before you purchase them, because a lot of times they can be filled with something, and you can, they end up getting contaminated, and you can never get those contaminants out. And so therefore they're not safe for storing water. My chat's moving a little quicker than usual. I think the last time I did a live stream, I had like 10,000 subscribers. So I've come up a ways. Let's see. Timothy Larrett, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. I'm in Texas, right outside of DFW. Nothing outside the normal. I haven't seen anything crazy happening at the southern border either. Joe Leslie here from Northwest Idaho. Quincy Heshfield, greetings from South Idaho. Cool, man. A lot of Idahoans in the chat tonight. That's awesome. American Harley rider. The riots were from the. Did I already read this? Oh. The riots were from the 1960s. I saw a tank go past my house. I have not forgot it. We moved out of the city. All the busyness closed. The business is closed. They even tore down the huge hospital 2 blocks away. Crazy. Remember all those riots we were going through? It seems like, gosh, we'd be with the amount of chaos and turmoil we've been going through as a country, especially in the last decade, especially. It's like we become so fickle that we just forget, quickly, of like how much we've actually endured in the last year, just in terms of riots and all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, we had like, it seemed like a full year of riots. So it's good to see, those things come to an end, but I have a feeling they will present themselves here again in the near future. American Harley rider, pick out where you are going to the store to store the water barrels, fill them up in place. You will not move them up and downstairs. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, once those are filled, you're not moving them. Brian Powers, I emptied my dehumidifier a few days ago and thought about that being an alternative water source. Any thoughts on that? I mean, is your dehumidifier producing that much water? That's crazy if it is. I'd imagine that being kind of expensive. I use dehumidifiers from time to time, like big commercial industrial type dehumidifiers when I'm doing like big painting jobs, and it just helps the paint and and our drywall mud dry really quick. So I know that those can definitely pull a lot of water. So those we actually have to like hook up a hose to them and run it outside. They actually pull so much moisture out of the air. Stan Grenfell, I think I'm reading this right. Sorry, the chat on my screen here is really tiny, and I have bad eyes, so bear with me. But Stan Grenfell, this was before millions of insurgents. I would pay attention now, as said earlier. We're on our way. All right, so yeah, it's been a while. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done one of these live streams, so it's good to be back. I really just wanted to do it to connect with you guys. I really enjoyed doing these live streams when I was doing them, but I just got so busy and I wasn't able to keep up with that schedule. And I've just kind of been more focused on trying to put together videos more than anything. But I do enjoy this platform because it does give me a chance to connect with you guys one on one. So it's cool to see some familiar faces in the chat there. I always get dehydrated when I do these when I pretty much do any type of videos. I am not like cut out for doing videos, for being on film. It's still, even though I've been at this for about a year and a half now, this is not a natural thing for me at all. So just talking for this long. So it's like I'm just not designed for it. My physiognomy is just not designed for it. So I end up getting dehydrated really quick. But it is good to be back. Let's see. I was actually working on a video tonight. I'm currently working on a Minuteman loadout video. So there's a few more scenes I want to add to the video before I release it. I'll have it released by tomorrow, but essentially it's my loadout inside of a toolbox. So for those of you who have seen some of my earlier videos, my Minuteman loadout is in this gun cabinet right here, this wooden cabinet. And it's a secure cabinet. I built this cabinet mainly just to kind of keep my kids out and just not having like ready access to my guns. It's really secure. I mean, somebody would really have to know what they were doing to get in here. Obviously these hinges could be popped off, but so there are some weak points as far, I mean, if somebody was determined, obviously they're going to have to get through quite a few layers of security before they ever end up in this room with a screwdriver. But with that said, I mean, yeah, if somebody got to this point, it would be pretty easy to access this cabinet. However, like I always say in the comments, the risk far outweighs the reward. So don't any of you crazy people out there go and getting ideas. But anyways, it did get me thinking, just along the lines of securing your weapons for those of us who are like on a budget and you don't have $5,000 laying around to spend on a gun safe. What kind of options there are out there for securing your weapons. And so I started putting this gun cabinet together, and I was thinking, I could probably, if I really wanted to secure the rifles in there, I could run a cable through all of the trigger guards and then just, lock that cable to like, a big steel ring or something like that. And then that way, if somebody was to get in here or get into the cabinet, the rifles would still be secure with metal. So, that just led me to, thinking of different ways of basically locking up weapons. And usually the weak points, if for those of you who've ever kind of explored this region of locking guns up, you'll know that the hinges and the door is kind of the weak point. It's easy to make a big secure box, but having a door that's secure
and trying to create a way of accessing it without there being hinges exposed, because once you have hinges, anybody can just snap the hinges. But the thing I came across was like a job box, like with those knack construction toolboxes. And because I had one laying around. It was in my garage. I actually got it for free from a job site years back. This contractor just wasn't using it. It was all rusty. And so I brought it back to my house. I got all the rust sand blasted off of it. I restored the locking mechanisms and primed it, painted it, and got it functioning as a job box. And so I used it actually as a job box to keep my tools in. It was a little small, but then I ended up actually keeping some of like my rifles and stuff in it when I didn't have a safe. And so at another point, I was actually considering trying to make a Faraday cage out of it because it's just a big metal box. And I actually invested a bunch of time. I was going to make a YouTube video on how to convert like a metal job box into a Faraday cage. And I spent like a whole day putting this thing together. And right as I was getting ready to test it, I put my phone inside the box and was using my wife's phone to call it to see if I could, have a transmission. It dawned on me that it wasn't going to work because the locks on the side, basically there's two holes on the side of the box where the locks are. And I was thinking, well, it's not going to work because kind of the idea of a Faraday cage is essentially got to be airtight. And so once I realized that, I was like, oh, it's shot. The whole project shot. So I did end up putting some like metal tape over the areas where the locks are, and it worked. But that's just not like not a proper Faraday cage. So, anyways, I ended up pulling it back out, and I have kind of re-established it as a gun safe. So I got a video on it coming out soon, so I'll make sure to let you guys know when that will feature. But usually, I usually have coffee for these live streams. I already had my coffee for tonight, trying to get everything prepared. So I learned that lesson long ago. I'm a 1 cup of coffee a night person. If I drink more than 1 cup of coffee at night, I will be up until tomorrow morning doing the live stream. So not going to do that. But that brings me to the other thing. If you guys want to ever send me like anything, if for those of you who might have small businesses, and you want to send me stuff and I can advertise stuff for you online, or you just tell me your business, I'd be happy to do that. My PO box is PO Box 2923, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho 83816. So yeah, for those of you who ever want to write me or send me something, maybe feature your business, let me know. I'd be happy to do that for you, free of charge, of course. Let's see. Before I get into the topic, I actually had a few different topic ideas here, but I don't know. I'll probably just stay on one because some of this stuff's a little crazy, but we're getting some rainy weather. It's not as cold. We had a couple weeks of like super cold temperatures for a while. It got down to like, I don't know, I think it was like 10 below zero, something like that. Pretty cold. The trickiest part about that is just dealing with like if you have livestock and making, keeping the water from freezing. It just becomes a big chore. And all of our water heating systems have kind of failed. It's like a never ending process trying to keep the waters unfrozen. Let's see here. LT Outdoorsman, I see you said something and then, oh, there you are. LT Outdoorsman, how's it going? Everyone just got off work. Right on. Good to have you. Good to have you here. Stan Grenfell, you are doing well. I don't do well in front of the camera. It's all an act. I'm not really doing well inside. I'm crumbling. and falling apart. That is like one of the things I will say. I actually used to speak in front of large crowds, and sometimes I would do really well, and it wouldn't bug me at all. I wouldn't get nervous, and then towards the end, because I did it for a few years, I started getting really self conscious, and boy, I tell you, there's nothing worse than getting like what happens is you start to get nervous, and then you start to stutter, and then it's like a snowball, and then you're listening to yourself be awkward and get quiet, and then you just go into a panic because you can't think of what to say, and then you just get total tunnel vision, and then you you vomit and pass out, and everybody laughs. Hopefully that won't happen tonight. I tell you what, the worst thing, my eyesight's been going bad for about 3 years now, and in no way is that, is it getting any easier. I don't know how people ever get used to it. I see people with glasses, and I don't know how they do it because it really sucks. Let's see, where was I? Ronin 58. I use a JB for all of my ammo cans. It works great. Chiquero, I'm not sure if I'm reading that right. Hello, hey, my friends. Are you from Chile? Is that the flag that I see? I'm not sure. That is one of the most amazing things about, I swear, starting this channel about is how many people I connect with from all around the world. It just blows my mind that I'm communicating with people in every part of the world. So it's really cool. Jerry Martinez, is that Gary Martinez or Jerry? Hey, did you decide or execute your carbine to 5.56 223 lately? No. Not sure what you mean. Ronan 58, I was wondering if you were North Idaho. I'm in North Idaho. Girl Carpenter, I appreciate you sharing your story about your house and how you got prepping. Oh, right on. Yeah, that was something that I actually shared a couple times or like touched upon during these live streams, and I always thought it would make a better, just video on it because it seemed like an important story, and I just didn't see. Also, I just don't see a lot of preppers talking about stuff like that and getting too personal. And I'm trying to kind of keep my content as original as possible. I don't just want to be like the average prepping channel, although it does get tempting because it seems like most people just want to watch gear reviews. And so I'm glad that video did well, and a lot of people did respond to it positively, but there was so much to that. There was so much more to that story about how I got prepping. And I did a follow-up video on that. It was where about the medical. I don't know if you guys watched that one about the medical. I can't even remember what I titled it. Based something like how I got over on the medical community or something. I can't remember. My mom, who's like a nurse and is in the it's like her profession. She was just like gave me the cold shoulder, and I was like, you gotta watch the video. I didn't knock it wasn't the whole industry, the whole medical industry. It was just a few bad apples that I had experience with, and just some bad info that seemed to be kind of a trend in that industry. But but yeah, there was so much going on that time, that made me a prepper. I mean, there's just so much I could that kind of it was just such an endless series of events that occurred in this like 5 to 7 year period of my life where I just went from like 0 to 60. I mean, I think I started out, I was, when that year started, I was just more about like, because I was young and single, and I was just more into like looking cool and just spending my money on stupid frivolous stuff like cologne and coffee drinks. And then within 7 years, I'm just stockpiling ammo. I mean, it really went from like 7 jeans and like Gucci cologne to like ammo cases and bug out bags. It was just a massive shift, a shift in character. But thank God, you know, somebody was looking out for me, and they were like, we got to change this guy. He's just going full douchebag. um, let's see here. Chiquero, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Hi, hello, my preppers. I'm a prepper. I'm here in Brazil. Okay, all right. So Brazil, I knew it. Chile, Brazil. I was close, within a couple thousand miles. And things here are complicated. Interesting, complicated. Yeah, things here are complicated as well. Um, yeah, I can't imagine. You see that there's that channel where that guy does like real life, like gun video, real life gun altercations where people get in shooting altercations where they have to like use their concealed carry to defend themselves. I'm like 90% of those videos are coming out of Brazil. So I don't know if that's just there's a lot of crime, a lot of guns, or a lot of cameras. I have a feeling it's just a mixture of both, because it seems like quite a bit of gun incidences get caught on camera there. Um, the Virginia Bushcrafter, although gear is nice, I like watching preppers use their gear. Yeah, I try to get out there and use my gear as much as I can. The last video I did, I actually the my biggest downfall is my boots right now. I have like really crappy boots, and I just ordered a pair and they're taking forever to come in the mail. But I really have to wait until I get some better boots before I go out there, because right now the snow is just soupy wet. And yeah, and I actually had to call the trip off a little early because my feet just got soaked and my boots got soaked. And then, once your feet are wet, it's just like it's all downhill. So my next video, I think the next geary video, or when I go out and test a lot of my stuff, or test some of my stuff, it's gonna be a pretty like comfy camp out. I'm going to be taking a bigger tent and a cot. I'm going to try to basically see how much gear I can fit into my sled, and tow it like on foot, because I don't have a snowmobile. There's too much snow on the ground for me to utilize my ATV. So I'm going to have to, whatever gear I bring with me, I'm going to be hauling it behind me on a sled. So I'm going to see how much gear I can realistically put in a sled and then pull behind me uh, to my location. But it's not going to be like a bug out type video type camp. It's just going to be me in a tent and some basic, like, some creature comforts. I'm going to be in a cot, and I'm going to have like a sleeping bag, and I'll be eating something better than an MRE. So Girl Carpenter agreed of Virginia Bushcrafter. American Harley Rider, we are putting our medical stuff into 5-gallon buckets and Rubbermaid totes. I don't think you will get near the hospitals if things go terribly bad. Yeah, that's a kind of a topic that not too many preppers have been touching upon. A lot of the prepping channels right now are just super hyper focused on like world events right now. And My thing has always been, especially after the lockdowns, like after COVID, that was like a pretty big wake up call as to like how things can go. Uh, and the fact that we were kind of put in a situation where we had to stay at home, and it was like whatever you had at home was what you had. That was kind of a wake up call. So a lot of what I started doing differently after that was really because I have three kids, my wife and three kids. Uh, a lot of it was, believe it or not, was really towards trying to keep them entertained, because I was thinking, if things got really bad, my focus is really just my children and keeping them, in a healthy state of mind, no matter how crazy things get. And that's been one of my central focal points in preparedness, is like, how am I going to keep everything, in order and keep everything going, and also at the same time, like, keep my children in a calm state of mind, so they don't get caught up in it. Because I don't want my children like growing up in a state of fear and and panic. So a lot of what I was doing was kind of creating an environment where there were a lot of things for them to do here that would distract them. So we'd like put in like a really nice playground for them. And I kind of redid one of our rooms downstairs, and kind of created like a movie room. So I got some DVDs, so that way, if the internet went down, um, at least we had like a TV and a DVD player, and I had movies. The kids could watch movies, and I got like a popcorn machine and a lot of board games and things like that, just to kind of keep everybody and especially our kids entertained if things kind of went south, and we had to hunker down and stay at home. So, but the medical component to all that, for sure. I mean, the good thing about where we are in our area is that we actually have, and it's just by total coincidence, like half the people on our street are in the medical industry. So we have two nurses to the left, and a doctor, and two nurse practitioners and a doctor to the right. So right. I know it looks like I'm going left, but I'm looking at the face of my house to the right. So yeah, two nurse practitioners, doctor, two more nurse, a regular nurse, and then a nurse practitioner at the end there. So in that regard, we're pretty good, and we're all friends. We're all really well um, connected. As far as like the medical component, I mean, I think there's only so much stuff that like the normal person has access to. Although I will say the one thing that has like changed drastically, at least since I started prepping, is the availability of of antibiotics, like prescription grade, like human grade antibiotics. So when I started getting into prepping, I remember the only antibiotics preppers could get access to were like the fish antibiotics, and they were just questionable. There were a lot of horror stories about people just taking the wrong dosage, or just taking the wrong antibiotic for the wrong thing, and then really hurting themselves. So you definitely got to be careful with that. I've talked to a lot of like doctors and nurses about that. How I have the antibiotic kit from, what is it? Now I can't remember. Hold on. Jace. I always forget the name. Yeah, Jace Medical. So I got my antibiotic kit there. And like a lot of nurses and doctors are like, God, I'm surprised that that's available to the public. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you just go online, and um, it's like a prescription, but it's not really a prescription. You just give them your name and say that you're healthy, and they're like, okay, and they send you your antibiotic. So it is good to have those. The other thing I would also recommend, let's see, is it up there? is the Survival Medicine Handbook. So this book uh, has pretty much every kind of medical emergency that you could possibly imagine covered in this book, and it's all geared around basically not having access to the hospital. So everything in here is kind of an outline of how you would treat any kind of medical situation with just basic household supplies. So really, really good book here. All right, let's see here. I've probably missed a few super chats, so I apologize, but Daniel Dill says, I'm looking at properties in Wyoming, was looking at Idaho, but heard a lot of Californians were moving there, so I don't want to move again when they screw up Idaho. Yeah, that's a hot topic. Here's the thing I'll say about Idaho. People don't realize this. So Idaho was like a relatively blue state up until the mid 90s. People don't realize that. And it was because the reason why this state went red and became, known as such a notable like free state is because of all of the influx of people from California, from New York, like from blue states. That's really what it was. And the reason why they came here was if you look at it and you really zoom out, it was right after Ruby Ridge. Ruby Ridge kind of put Idaho on the map, and that's when everybody started looking at Idaho as like this kind of like almost like a right-wing reactionary state. And as a result, it attracted extremely right-wing people into the state. And so it wasn't until after that did the state start becoming reliably and consistently red. So it's funny when people always mention the Californians are going to screw up Idaho. The Californians made Idaho red. So yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you right now, ask anybody in Idaho, like, where are you from? They'll all say California, and there are very, very few local Idahoans. And in fact, the few Idaho like locals that I've met, they're not really right. They're not really right wing. Um, and their big gripe when they say the Californians are ruining Idaho, it's not politically. They're talking about the Californians are ruining Idaho because they're buying up the land and they're consuming too much land. And so the local Idahoans are resentful of the Californians is because they've lost access to a lot of open land that they used to have like hunting access to. So that's for the most part the main gripe with the natives versus the Californians. But I will say, the Californians, like the Democrat Californians, I can tell you because I know a lot of them, they're not moving from California. If they do move, they're not going to move to Idaho. They're going to move to Nevada or Oregon or Washington or Texas. But yeah, not you ask any liberal California liberal about Idaho, and they'll just go, they despise it. They think of it as like the skinhead capital of the world, so they steer clear of it. So, anyways, that's my take on that. So. Let's see here. What kind of, okay, let's see. Did I miss a few? I'm going to try to scroll up a little bit. I got to get a better computer here at some point. I'm going to try to, oh, here we go. Sorry, I'm just scrolling the super chat down. I'm trying to see the ones I may have missed. Bear with me. Okay, so Tennis Irwin, I would love a 48-hour heads up before SHTF. I know, right? It's, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's somewhat possible. I think most people, you could usually anticipate it for the most part. You see, I think there's been a few times where I saw a lot of warning signs like on the horizon, and I would make, I'd start making certain, uh, I'd start taking certain precautionary steps like filling up all the gas tanks. Like I said, like filling, if I think, okay, we got a big storm coming in, I'll fill up the 55-gallon drums, things like that. But I always try to make it a good practice to never let anything get to a point like I try not to ever let my preps get too depleted, or let our gas tanks in our car get too low. I try to keep like as many essential items in stock at our house. So, like for instance, I just changed I just got new tires for both me and my wife's car, new batteries for me and my wife's car, and before they went out, I didn't wait until they were completely out. So I bought the batteries beforehand, um, and well, my tires, I actually waited way too long. I was actually driving and I was feeling my like a bumping, in my front, and I was thinking maybe it was like my tie rod or something came loose, and so I went over to my mechanic and he was like, dude, your tire is separated, and so it was just bulged. I'm like, oh my God. And, there was still a little bit of tread. I didn't think it was that bad, but so I just ended up going and picking up, uh, 13, or what was it? I got an okay deal, but still, tires have gotten expensive. So 1200 over $1,200 to put tires on my truck, and my wife's car was about 900. So the last time I put tires on my truck, and there's the same exact tires, it was 900. It was just over $900. So definitely, there's been an increase in the cost of tires. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, somebody had floated that idea. I think it was MD Creekmore. If you guys ever watch his channel, but he had actually kind of thrown that idea, and I'm sure this is something that other preppers have talked about. But it's if you knew that you had 48 hours before full scale SHTF, meaning like let's say the power was going to go out, and it was like, all right, within 48 hours, like you're going to be on your own, the food supply is cut off, like whatever you have, like you're from this point on, it's about basically you're going to be living off of what food you have and trying to put in place a renewable, sustainable food plan. So what does that mean? And it's actually a good idea. I mean, and I think most preppers are kind of like that because, I mean, let's face it, like we can't all just invest 100% into the prepping game. I mean, I would love to be able to do it and get to a point where we are fully sustainable, but it's just not realistic. I can't, because with that it comes with so much work, and to me that would mean, I mean, to really go in that direction and try to be like 100% sustainable, that would mean a lot more livestock. It would just mean a lot more everything. I mean, I would have to start, um, tilling a bunch of land. I mean, it would be a lot of work, and but that's probably what I do. I think probably the first thing I would do is probably go and I would try to buy a cow, and I probably get an incubator for our chickens, and I get our rooster, and then that way we can at least keep our chickens in a state of renewability. I probably kind of pull the trigger on getting quail because that was kind of an idea, either quail or just probably go into like a meat bird chicken, and just expand our um, you know, the chicken aspect of our farming right now. But it would really just be like a major emphasis on more livestock, more meat, and renewability and sustainability, and trying to keep that thing moving. But it would be a full time job for sure. Um, the other thing that we're actually working on right now, my wife and I, is, and I brought this up before, but we have a hall in our local community where the people kind of gather. We have different functions, like different events. We have like potlucks during Christmas and throughout the season, and we're trying to kind of put together more groups that are related around homesteading and prepping, because we know there are a lot of preppers in this area, and so we already know the interest is there. It's just a matter of trying to get the community together, and this community that we're in is actually really unique. And I talked to a neighbor, a lady down the street who's lived here for the last 50 years or so, and she was telling me there was a point in time where this that's kind of like a big neighborhood where we live. But she was saying, there was a time when it was fully sustainable, that there was actually a full-time like working ranch here, and that's where most of the people actually around here got their sourced all of their meat and their beef and their chickens from one ranch here in the community. And the hall, which where we is where everybody meets, used to be a school, and that's where all the kids went to school. And so it was just a complete, self-sustaining community for a period of time. So there's definitely no reason why I couldn't go back to that. Most people here homeschooling and raising a lot of their own food themselves. But the big difference, and this is kind of something it's just cultural. It's just whatever part of the generational shift in things. But people are becoming more isolated, a lot more introverted, and and it's just, it is what it is. But um it's definitely something I want to see change, is just trying to bring people back together, being more social and being more active as a community. So that would be probably the main things I would be working on for the most part, is just be the three things that I would rush to do if I knew I had 48 hours, is try to round up my community and get our community working together and communicating as best as possible. And then and just basic, seeing what our each other's resources are, and how we can all help each other. And then making sure that we we had enough food here, and that food that we were bringing in had a level of renewability to it. Let's see here. The boots that I got, they were these, I don't know, some Chinese boots. I mean, it's all from China. I was shocked. I actually went to this sporting goods store in our neighborhood, or not our neighborhood, but in the town close by, and they had all these really well known, like American named boots that I just thought for sure like cowboy boots, that were American made, like Justin boots and Ariat boots. And because they're expensive, I'm thinking it's a cowboy boot. There's an American flag on it, and it's a $230. So I was just thinking, yeah, it's American. No, it's all made in China. I was shocked. I'm like, even these cowboy boots, named Justin cowboy boots with a big American flag, are made in China. It's pitiful. Am I missing chats here? I think I am. Oh yeah, look at that. Holy cow, you guys have been chatting it up. I'm way behind. Sorry, I'm gonna have to pass a few, because
I wish there was a way I could expand this pop out chat. Did that work? Sort of. Ugh. That didn't work. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Give me a second here. Grounded dad. I live in Idaho. Most of my neighbors are all from California and all conservative. Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, that's the thing you got to realize. I mean, is that anybody who's coming here from California is coming here because they're trying to get away from liberal politics. So they're not here to change it in any way. If anything, they're actually bringing a lot. I mean, this place. I mean, all the money that's coming in here is coming from California, for sure. Um, I would say, I mean, in all honesty, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but it's totally true. Most of like the liberalism that's coming into Idaho is coming from Washington. And most people will tell you that because Washington is extremely blue. I had no idea how I'll tell you right now, if I had a choice between living in Washington or California, I would live in California in a heartbeat because Washington is probably if not as blue, more blue than California in terms of their policies. And but it's like bad. It's like California politics, but with terrible weather. So I don't know why anybody would want to live there. So if I had a choice between California or Washington, I'd be in California for sure. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but whatever. A new prepper Brazil says, I watch you in South Brazil. It's amazing how many people from Brazil. I would say most of the people who I contact with from in different countries is from South America, mostly Brazil. So that's pretty cool. I have another channel in on YouTube, a new prepper Brazil. Your English is a little broken, my friend. Not quite sure what you're saying. American Harley Rider. They told us it would take 3 days to empty out a big store. They were wrong. They emptied out huge stores in 3 hours during the pandemic. We had to put armed police officers in our stores. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, yeah, it was crazy. I mean, everybody was like in total panic mode. There's been a lot of times where I was thinking, especially with ammo. Ammo, I really thought I was like, oh, this is never coming back. People forget about that, but the ammo supply, wow, that was like the worst. It seemed like they were rationing ammo for a long time and the prices were just ridiculous. You guys remember that? I mean, I know here in Idaho, like it's pretty much back to normal. The prices aren't, quite back to, they're still a little high, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was. And as far as like its availability is, 100%. There's some things that are still a little difficult to get, but for the most part, it's it's back to normal. And but I do notice things. I mean, things still as far as like the groceries are concerned, the food is concerned, there are still shortages there. There's still all the time we're going to the grocery store and they'll be completely out of stock of like basic things.
So it is interesting to see, like, especially the price. I remember the price of chicken was like through the roof, and that's kind of come back down a little bit. Um, but there are certain things we usually, my family and I, we eat a lot of like ground turkey, and that's been kind of a little tricky to get, especially like the organic ground turkey. It's kind of hard to come by here. There was like this one ground turkey that was like really bad, and that was another thing we um, is that we kept getting food that was like either totally expired or on the verge of expired. And I don't, and that's something I don't see a lot of people talking about. But it's like even if it was available, it'd be like expired, or it would just have some weird taste. We came across a few different offer because a lot of times, like the normal brand of food would, you couldn't find it, and so the store would kind of offer up, oh well, we have this brand, and you try it out, and it just didn't taste the same. There's some weird taste. So, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, God, I hope there wasn't just, like what I'm thinking is that there was like a shift in terms of like the ownership of these food production companies, and then the new owners have like started changing the ingredients of the food around, because it just seems like the food does not taste the same anymore. So I can't help but wonder if there's some dark maniacal stuff going on at the food plants. I'm sure there is. Let me see here. Grounded dad, we live in Emmett with no power. I'm using gas to get to the river for water. We have food, meds, weapons, community, but we don't have easy access to water. My rice and beans are thirsty. Were you saying that you have to like what do you do to retrieve your water? You say you use gas. You have to like take a truck down there with a water tank or something. um, Jerry Martinez, I commented in one of your videos about your 1022. I asked if you were going to upgrade to an AR-15 style rifle with 223 ammo. Oh, right. Have you considered that lately? I have considered it, not lately. Um, everything's just budget related right now. Every decision I make, but that is a smart thing to do. I know that a lot of people have kind of thrown that out there and just using like conversion kits for their ARs, and then that way it's just you bring your AR platform with you, and then you can convert it to a 22, and in that regard, it kind of makes for a good survival rifle option. So yeah, I can definitely relate with that. The thing I just learned recently about YouTube live streams is you're not allowed to show guns in the live stream, so they'll just shut you down immediately. If I was to grab a rifle or a gun laying around here and show it in the screen, I don't know if like the whole live stream would just completely shut down or it would get demonetized or what. But it's a big no. I guess people were like offing themselves on live stream. So as soon as like a gun shows up or something, it just shuts down. It's like some new feature. Crazy world we live in. Uh, Thoughts on storing dried food such as rice and beans and flour and baking powder? I mean, those are all good things to store. I always tell people it's the first, if you're going to get in, you're going to start prepping, that's where you should start. Just start filling up 5-gallon buckets full of, the basics: flour, rice, beans, things like that. And the thing about that is you don't need, salt, sugar. So you don't, it's, uh,
It's been a while since I've actually, when I say a while, it's been about a month since since I've filled up any 5 gallon buckets. So, but I know, just keep in mind like salt, sugar, and I think somebody was saying like, oh, salt, sugar. I don't think flour doesn't need an oxygen absorber. You should definitely put one with rice and like beans because it will keep the weevils from hatching. Um, it's probably good to just throw one in with the flour. I know you definitely shouldn't throw one in for sugar because it will actually just turn the sugar into a big brick block and you'll have to like chip away at it to utilize it. So it doesn't hurt the sugar, it just makes it really difficult to utilize. And then salt, of course, doesn't need an oxygen absorber. But other than that, I would just say, as far as storing those foods, just my advice is just, when you're doing any type of bulk storage, like in the 5 gallon buckets like this, you're going to want to make sure that you're rotating it. So you're just going to have to figure out ways, like if you're not normally eating pinto beans but you want to stockpile them, you're gonna have to figure out like recipes and a way to like incorporate them into your like weekly food menu because otherwise you're just gonna sit there and go bad. So and then what I'd say to that is just make sure. Well, I don't know. For me, it's better to just keep everything in the little 1 gallon mylar bags instead of putting everything into a 5 gallon mylar bag and then a 5 gallon bucket, and then you're just working out of a bucket. It just makes it easier to like come down, open up a bucket, take out a bag, bring it up to your kitchen, your pantry up in your kitchen, and then just work out of that as opposed to working out a big 5 gallon bucket. So let's see here. How long have I been doing this live stream? I started at 9:30, so we're at an hour. So I'll go a little bit longer here and then I'll sign off. I don't even think I touched on well, I did. I touched on the subject of preparing for 48 hours, but um, let's see here. Girl Carpenter, I remember vividly getting to Cabela's the morning they open with the Herders 9mm 500 round boxes for $79.99. I bought two. Yeah, I was, I think I pretty much secured all of my ammo like a long ways. The thing about ammo is you can actually store it for a long period of time. You don't have to rotate it like you do with food. So you can usually just like put together like a stockpile that you save for a bad day, shall we say, and then you have kind of another section that you use for like training or whatever. That's the way I would do it as far as ammo is concerned. Just like with money, you just don't, you have the money, put some cash aside, save money and you put it into a separate, like a safe or an account and you don't touch it. And then, you leave it for an emergency and then and then the money that you use, you just keep it in a regular account and you cycle through that. Same thing with ammo. You shouldn't be training with your, out of one big, huge supply. So figure out what you think you're going to need for when times get bad, and then put that aside, lock it up, forget about it, and then what you want to shoot with and practice with, just keep that somewhere. Just buy that day to day. I hate laptops. I hate not having a mouse. I've never gotten used to this like stupid tap finger thing. Sorry here. Let me gosh, how many chats did I miss here? Okay, hold on, bear with me. What is that? What the heck is that? It's going to take 3 days. Okay. I got to get a better system going. Sorry, you guys. This stupid mouse. Oh well, I'm going to just miss chats. I can't. Anyways, Girl Carpenter, sorry for that. Sorry, that was February 2020 before they locked down. Grounded Dad, you missed my earlier comment. You were asking what to do if we had 48 hours. Water is our concern. Now we have city water. If power went out, we would be in trouble. Yeah. Grounded Dad, it has to be hard to read comments while we respond in, in real time, but he has moved past. Oh, well, great stuff, though. I know I got to get it. I don't do these live streams that much, so if I was doing it more religiously, I'd have a better system in place here. But anyways, this will have to suffice for now. Brandon Gage, enjoy your channel. I'm in Tulsa, moving back to Idaho Falls in December. Well, welcome back. Sam Gasaway, we just had 10-degree weather and my 50-gallon water barrels froze solid. Oh, holy cow. That's crazy. Those would make some good projectiles for the right cannon. Tactical Muffin Top. There's a name. Nice man, love your channel. Thank you, Muffin Top. Tactical Muffin Top. TMT. Homestead Family Idaho. It's a touch screen. Oh, is it now? Look at that. It is a touch screen. Uh-oh. I can get into trouble with that too. Ronan 58 at Grounded Dad, look for local pickling facilities. You might be able to pick up 0% gallon barrels for cheap. They are BPA free. Yeah, I've heard about 55-gallon drums with a pickling. I that have held pickles, and it's fine. It's safe to drink the water, but that pickle taste you never get rid of, from what I hear. So if you don't mind drinking water that has like a little pickle aftertaste, you're fine. Grounded Dad, no worries, man. Great stuff. Getting the community together, gathering tips. Good deal. All right, it was like a few more things, but now I seem to have like misplaced my notes here. Probably when I was putting my putting that medical book down. So but as far as the Civil War stuff, like all the people talking about that, this is what I'll say. I mean, regardless of where I think that's going, I think it would be such a tragedy if something like that happened for so many reasons. I mean, obviously, just the bloodshed that would be involved, but the worst part about it is that the way things are right now, it wouldn't change anything, because regardless of what side came out on top, people haven't figured out what's going on yet. I mean, we're
we're still new in this internet age, and I've said this before, but what the internet has done is it's provided people the ability to communicate with each other on a level that we've never had access to ever in the history of the world. And so, for the first time ever, we have we have as a people have really had like a free exchange of communication. The flow of information since its conception just about has been controlled, like heavily controlled. And what people don't realize is that the flow of information is what dictates the narrative. It dictates everything. People take it for granted. They don't realize just how powerful it is, because the information is what dictates the terms of the narrative. It's how you see it's the lens in which you see everything and understand everything. And that flow of information has been controlled by a very small segment of the population, and they have been curtailing the narrative through that flow of information to benefit them at the expense of us. And that's how it's been going for over 100 years. So for the first time, we now have the ability to, for other regular day-to-day people, communicate their ideas and expose people to ideas and information that they've never had access to. And so you have people on this mass scale that are starting to wake up for the first time to ideas and ways of looking at things that they just did not know. And finding out of like facts that have just been buried. And so it's a process. We're still waking up to it, I would say, for the most part. We hear this term like the red pill movement, and the most of the people who consider themselves red pilled really aren't red pilled. They're just not. They still got a ways to go. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of truth there that is just going to be extremely difficult for most people to digest, shall we say. So I would say go out there, consume as much information as you can. I will say, even though because I don't want to knock YouTube, even though they have changed quite considerably since I've been watching it. You're not going to find like a free flow of information on this platform anymore. So if you're looking for some real gritty stuff, you're going to have to move on to other platforms such as Rumble and so forth. Let me get a drink here. I think I'm being like I think my voice is being infiltrated. They're like, whoa, shut him down. He's starting to speak truth. Yeah, it's weird. I'm just not designed for like talking this long. I watch a lot of like different podcasters, and it's interesting. I'll watch them talk for 2 hours straight and they never take a sip of water. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know how you guys do that, because my throat just gets dry really quick. Let's see here. Grounded Dad, great idea. Would have been way cheaper, I'm sure. Ronan, you can clean them with white vinegar. You're talking about the drums that had the pickles, the pickling drums. I love pickles, so win-win. You'd have to really like pickles to be drinking pickle water all day. But I'm with you. They are pretty good. Johnny Nixon, could you please do a review on wood burning stoves, brother? Oh, well, I don't know if I'm the guy for that. I have the one that we use in our house. And I can tell you right now, it could probably be bigger, because in order to heat our house, we got to get that thing raging. To heat up the house, it takes a while. And the thing is, too, is like,
everything is pretty much on the upstairs. Like our house is 2 levels, and I'm in the downstairs area. It's kind of like it's subterranean, and so it's nice down. It's nice here if you're keeping food for food storage. It's great, but in the winter months it gets really cold, and especially when we had the wood stove going, which we do during the winter. The wood stove upstairs, the thermostat's upstairs, so it turns off the furnace, and so yeah, it's really hot upstairs, but it's super cold down here. So I'm actually, in order to stay down here and do these live streams, I gotta like have my buddy heater going to keep me warm down here. Otherwise, I would be frozen right now. But that's something I just realized. I actually brought one of these with me on a camp out, and I had this in a tent, and it shut off. And I was thinking, gosh, did it shut off because it has like a built-in thermostat? And what I learned is actually what it has is a built-in. It's what happens is that these will deplete the oxygen in the air, so they're okay to use in a closed environment. You're not going to run the risk of getting like carbon monoxide poisoning, but what ends up happening is it will suck the oxygen out of the air, and you can actually die from that. So luckily they were smart enough to put one of these little indicators in here, so that when the oxygen in the air gets to below a certain point, it turns off. So that's actually what happened in my tent. It turned off by itself, and it was because it had depleted all of the oxygen out of the air, kind of like what I'm doing right now by talking. Let's see here. But yeah, as far as wood stoves, we got the one upstairs. It should probably be bigger. I would assume that there's probably like a metric. So if you figure you have so many square feet, you know, uh, I would definitely say go to talk to somebody who like works in that industry. They're going to do way more than anything I could put together for a video. But I'm sure that there is some type of like metric for, if you have a certain amount of square feet, you're going to need a certain size stove. Um, and as far as what kind of, and I actually used to install wood stoves, believe it or not. Like my first year in college, I worked for a chimney sweep guy. We did chimney sweeping and we installed stoves. And so we installed wood stoves, pellet stoves, and oil stoves. And believe it or not, this was in Feather River College, which is like in Northern California. And believe it or not, we installed more oil stoves than anything. Oil stoves and wood stove. I mean, in pellet stoves. So it might be because that was the only two stoves he sold. It was just pellet stoves and wood and oil stoves. Maybe that's why it's been it was 30 years ago almost. But as far as those tent stoves, I did get a tent stove, and I'm I'm right now I'm in the process of either converting one of my tents. I have a really nice Alaskan Cabela's tent, and I'm either going to convert that to a stove tent, or I'm just going to buy a stove tent. I think I'm just going to buy a stove tent, like a real. You can actually get them for a pretty good deal on Amazon. So I might just buy a regular stove tent and not even run. I just can't really stomach the idea of cutting a hole in my $650 Alaskan guide tent, and having it go wrong, and then I've just botched the whole tent. So I think I'm just going to buy a separate wood stove tent. The one thing I did learn recently from watching this other channel is that when he goes camping in his stove tent, he gets one of those. You can get these. I think they're like 8-hour burning logs, and he'll bring a couple of those with him and stick one of those in the stove before he goes to bed, and then that way it just stays burning all night, and he doesn't have to get up periodically through the night and change, and put more wood in there, so he can get almost like a full night's sleep. So that was kind of a good tip. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably pretty soon here before the winter's over, order that stove tent and get some of those 8-hour logs. What town are you in or near? Brandon Gage. No comment. I'll tell you this, I'm in Kootenai County. Sorry, man. I got too many threats to be throwing info like that around. Grounded Dad, we heat with wood. It would be really tough to rate them. In my opinion, our choice was to go with wood burning stove over pellet stove. We didn't want power to be required to heat our home. I am actually a much better reader than it sounds. It's just when these comments, there's no punctuation, so it's just a little difficult to read the comments. Plus, the writing's really small. Grounded Dad, we have a pure water filter. LOL. There was a guy who did like a really long test on all the different water filters, and the water filter that did come out on top as far as like a household water filter system, like the basic ones, was that zero pure or whatever it is, zero water. And it really did it basically that whatever purification system they had in place, it really does like basically get the water like zero, like there's just zero contaminants in the water. And it's like one of the very, very few water filtration systems that did that. And it was a really extensive test. Brandon Gage, I'm not LDS, made the mistake of moving to Rexith. First time. Not sure what that is. It's like a Mormon place. Brandon Gage, Rexburg is not a good idea. Ronin 58, I have a Kodiak 10x10 and I had thought about doing the same thing. I just couldn't justify cutting holes in mine as well. Yeah, I would shop Amazon. I'll leave a link in the video description of this live chat for some of the stuff we talked about, but there's some pretty good deals. And I'll tell you, from experience shopping a lot of these different stove tents, they come and go really quick. They're actually like really hot commodities. People are buy them a lot, and the designs change a lot. And so I've noticed a lot of them, they'll come on the market and then be gone. And it's also a good idea. You can go on eBay, and even on eBay, they're kind of tough to find, but you'll see the same stove tent on eBay. And so, which kind of to me indicates that it's not a good wood stove, because it looks as though all these people, bought them on Amazon, tried them out, and they're like, these things are terrible, but they already use them. They couldn't return them. And so they're selling them, on eBay for a little bit less. But if you go on eBay and you search like, used tents, it'll, used stove tents, it'll be almost all the same wood stove tent, or the same two wood stove tents. The other thing I would say about wood stove tents or stove tents, probably just stay away from like, synthetic fiber tents. Just go with the canvas, because it seems as though it's like if you get one, even if you have a good spark arrestor on the top of your chimney, whatever you call it, stovepipe, one little red amber lands on your nylon tent, and it's just gone. You got a hole. And so I've seen a lot of different videos where guys are using these cheaper nylon stove tents, and
by the end of the first trip, they're just the ceiling is just peppered with holes. So I'd say get a good canvas tent. Um, Put a good waterproofing, fire resistant coating on there, and that's easy to make. I actually did a video where I made a silicone water resistant spray you can do yourself. It's super easy. You basically just get some paint thinner and then just like I don't know, like 2 cups of paint thinner and and squirt like a quarter tube of pure silicone in it, mix it up really well, and then just get yourself one of those cheap um, turbine sprayers. That's what I call them, or convectional sprayers, and you can get them from Harbor Freight for like under $20, and just they're little cap sprays, cap guns, and you put your liquid in there, and you can just spray it as long as you have a compressor, and you can just spray the whole tent or whatever you want to waterproof with that. So you save yourself a lot of money, and it works great. The only downside to it is it's kind of sticky. So my advice is just don't use that much silicone. So go easy on the silicone. You really don't need much silicone. The first time I did it, I put like half a tube in there, and I don't think I needed to put that much silicone in there. So it made it extremely waterproof, but it just made the whole canvas a little sticky, like tacky. All right. So I'll read a few more chats here. I think I pretty much covered everything. Yeah, I mean, as far as, I'm just a big First Amendment person. A lot of people are always just pushing the Second Amendment, which is weird because it's like we haven't even exhausted the First Amendment yet. 90% of the Americans don't even know who their actual enemy is. So if things go hot, it'll just be an absolute disaster because it'd just be an absolute disaster because nobody's, we just end up getting the same stupid government installed. It would be propped back up right away, regardless of which side won. Just because people haven't figured out. So I always say, yeah, okay, train, that's all fine, but really, you should be studying more than anything and researching, because I think what you'll realize is that, um, our enemies, I can guarantee you, fear a shift in the narrative far more than they fear an armed citizenry. And maybe that'll be controversial, but trust me on that one. That's what they fear more. They fear more about losing control over the narrative than they fear anything else. Because that's the most dangerous thing to them, is like an informed public, and especially when people realize, like, who their enemies have been and what the whole game is. Because you realize, oh, like, this is all there is to it. Like, the Second Amendment won't even be necessary. It's just a matter of like figuring out what's going on and then exposing it. All right, so I'll read the rest of these comments and then I think I'll sign off here. Vers, hello from Europe. Here where I live, there are no threats of natural disasters apart from fires, rarely. However, we do feel the impact of war quite a bit. Inflation, high food prices, immigration. Where in Europe? I guess everywhere. Pretty much all Western countries are pretty much all being hit with the same problems by the same bad actors. Girl Carpenter, you can find lots of prep items at Goodwill outlet stores. I've got military sleep systems, Kelty tents, and wool blankets. Great quality, very cheap. Mama likey. Just wanted to hear that.
Mama likey, Mama likely. Anyway, yes, I definitely agree. The last thing I actually found at Goodwill was a, oh gosh, what was it? It was a sleeping mat. It was like a the sleeping mat that I use like all the time. The I want to. It's not a sleep rest. The what's it called? It's like a really high quality air match. Like camping, um, camping sleep mat. Thermarest. I always forget the name of that. Yeah, the Thermarest. I found one of those. I think it was $3. They're asking $3. The thing, and it was like brand new, and those things retail for like $85. So that was a huge score. But you're right, definitely Goodwill. You got to get there. You got to know when their stock is coming in, and just and be on it pretty quick. But there's definitely some good deals. The other thing I will say about Goodwill, as far as like prepping stuff, that a lot of people don't talk about is wool. You can find, because wool is definitely if you can find like wool garments, get wool garments. You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't use it, and wool is expensive, and it's probably the best thing that you can wear outdoors. So if you ever come across anything wool sweaters, wool jackets, grab it. So, and you can usually, if you find it at a Goodwill, it's going to be really cheap. Johnny Nixon, have you ever thought about posting Idaho farms that sell to the public eggs, meat, fruits, and vegetables within our state, brother? Um, no. I have noticed that people are, like I said, it's just people are just kind of living very like exclusively. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but they're just kind of being very introverted and isolated and not reaching out, especially the younger people. Like when we go to these like functions, my wife and our family, we go to these functions at this hall. It's like we're the youngest people there by far. And there'll be like one or two other couples maybe that are our age, but it's mostly just baby boomers and up, and just older people, which is fine. It's great. But at the same time, it's just I want to see like these younger because I know they're around. There's lots of young families around, but they're not connecting. And so it's something that I've kind of been pressing upon with my wife, and just trying to kind of put together more. We're trying to put together, because we have a website for the hall in our community, and we're just trying to create more events, like the home. We have a homesteaders event that's coming up pretty soon. Different people will be coming, and giving different ideas and connecting on that. There's some guys, where you can get local feed and straw and things like that, for your livestock. And people were somebody's coming in, and they're gonna kind of do a quick seminar on raising meat chickens and how to get that started. So that's one of the things that my wife's been doing, is just creating flyers for these different events, and and just trying to network it as much as we can, and hopefully get more of these younger families like into the fold. Because I mean, it sounds a little corny and cliche, but it's the young, and I'm really thinking more about the kids, and just getting the kids together, because they're the kids are the future. So we got to get these younger generations like tapped in, and learning this stuff, because I think it's definitely important, regardless of what how things pan out, um, in this country as a result. Not I'm not just talking from the aspect of like things going downhill and there being some disaster, so that people can't eat, and there's a disruption in the food supply chain, but really just from the standpoint of like learn how to like make your own food and harvest your own food, because
the healthier option, just from the standpoint like our food is just getting less and less healthier every day. And I'm just a big believer in just trying to basically harness as much control and influence over our food as possible. And so the only way you're going to do that is by growing it and procuring it yourself. So Crypto Rick, there you are. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, man. It's been a while. One of the OGs, Crypto Rick. He's been here from the get-go. Him and LT Outdoorsman. Stan Grenfell. Same thing. I think, Stan, you've been around. He's kind of sounds like a familiar name. It's been a while since I've done these live streams, so forgive me if I'm not recognizing some of you. Stan Grenfell, thanks for the info and interactive chat. Stay warm up there. Crypto Rick, hope you and the fam are doing awesome. We are. All right, well, that'll about do it for me today. I just got through the show. It was only a bottle and a half of water. That was an hour. What was that? Yeah, an hour and a half show. So pretty good. Not too bad. So with that said, for those of you who'd like to donate to the show, I would definitely appreciate that. You can do that at the, what is it? The thanks button. I think there's like a thanks button. Anyways, all donations will go to my Keurig coffee fund. And like I said, if you guys want to, like advertise with me or, write to me or send me products for your businesses or something that you want me to review online, I'd be happy to do that. And you can send that to my P.O. Box, which is P.O. Box 2923, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho 83816. I think it's 2923. I hope it's 2923. It's been a while. But I wish do I have the P.O. Box around here? Anyways, it's 2923. If for some reason I got that wrong, I'll make sure to put an edit in the description. So keep an eye out for that. But other than that, hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. It was good, like seeing all the familiar faces and talking with you. I mean, that's my favorite part of these live streams. So I don't know if this is something I'm going to do weekly. I'll try to, but it's most likely going to be something that I'm just going to do like off the cuff, like randomly. My wife doesn't even know like when I'm going to do it. She'll just see me going downstairs with like lights and she's like, "Are you about to do a live stream?" I'm like, "I don't know. Don't count on it. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not," because usually I attempt to do these videos and then something goes wrong and then it doesn't work out. So I don't want to make any promises. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, I'm going to have a video on my Minuteman loadout toolbox coming out tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, with that said, as always, stay prepared.